All right, welcome to technical session number 15. Give us a little bit of an introductions into tickets and ticketing systems. Just a general reminder, we do not go through these in order as we're trying to match up all the things we are working on. This is basically just going to give us an idea as to what are tickets, why do we use them, why don't we use other methods? You know, why has this become more of a preferred method in the industry rather than just using things like spreadsheets or email or, you know, something along those lines? There's little pull tabs, like when you go into the grocery store deli, you know, you grab that tab, you know, your number 15, need to wait until you can be seen. You know, why don't we do stuff like that? All right. So our objectives for this particular technical session going to be to explain the purpose and role of a ticketing system and tickets in the IT context. List most common ticket types, analyze a simple ticket to identify the major components, and describe how to navigate a ticketing system in order to view tickets, open, capture notes in tickets, and close out tickets. So remember, this is just a basic general overview, just kind of getting us introduced to this particular idea. So, what do we think a ticket itself is with regards to the IT setting? Yes, Kevin.
I assume it's like a it's an order, to for lack of a better word, because even my father that does like handyman work in like apartment buildings, like they get tickets in
work order,
but they're paper though.
Yep.
So
yep, Vaughn had said work order as well. Ella as well. What about Greg? But I like where you're at with that one, Kevin.
Okay. A request for service and or good.
A request for service and or good. Okay. Getting a little more nuanced. I like it. Mohammed.
Yeah, to follow up on what is like, it's a work order.
Okay, work
Like,
order.
so, yes.
I
Usually,
need something done. Here's my order of what I need done. Okay, thank you. I like that. Ogali.
is the work order.
Yeah, that seems to be the consensus we are going with right here. So yeah, it is. It seems like it would appear to be a work order. You know, so that kind of leads into our second question. This is something we need done.
Well, we are workers when we call NCRO to come fix our machines. Okay. You know, they always have the work order that they use to come fix those machines, like the registers and the computers.
Okay,
yeah.
Excellent. So yeah, when something's broken, like I need to put in a work order so that somebody will come out and fix this for us. Okay, Yari?
Something like issue raised by the customers.
Okay. An issue raised by customers that you need to address?
Address it.
Okay. So that kind of leads us into that, you know, what would we use it for? So, you know, like it's an issue raised by a customer, somebody needs something handled, something needs to be repaired, something needs to be upgraded. You know, we can't forget about those upgrades. So for all of these things, we would issue a work order and or a ticket. So why would we need a ticketing system? You know, we already deal with 10 or 15 different types of systems throughout the day, email, word processors, you know, Microsoft Edge, hopefully not, Google Chrome, you know, we deal with all these different types of systems. Why do we need yet another one, a ticketing system? So what good would that be for us? Gali.
I would say most likely it's like for priority, maybe.
Okay.
You know, yeah.
So prioritizing it.
What's most important? Yeah.
We need to know what's the most important. I like that. So that is pretty key. Gowdy?
Yes, sir. I want to add that point to what Kelly said, so what Kevin said. And apart from that is, we know the serious of the problem and we work towards it. So it's always better to have a ticketing to see the serious of the problem. That's what
Okay.
I added to it. Thank you.
Excellent.
Also, emergency, sometimes they have an emergency that need to be get done or something like that.
So yeah, taking care of emergencies. We got Oscar saying for tracking purposes, you know, making sure we know where everything's at, right? We don't want things to get lost. And then Ella, make sure all the jobs are done. I like that. Emily.
I was gonna say, like to have order when problems and issues arise.
Okay, that would be extremely important, especially like if a whole bunch of things start to happen at once. We need to have some semblance of order. You know, what do we tackle first? What do we tackle second? Did, you know, the first thing that we need to tackle, did that get taken care of? Do we have the skills to handle it? Do we need to escalate it? So excellent. Thank you, Emily. I like that. D.
For communication purposes, maybe if you don't get to finish something before the end of the day, that ticket can help tell the next person what's going on and what needs to be done and the urgency of the ticket.
Excellent. So we can effectively communicate with our other teammates so that I don't have to go up to them at the end of the day and tell them every single ticket that's not closed out, right? I can have that stuff prioritized with notes in the system, and then I could just give them maybe a list of tickets and just say, hey, keep an eye on these 3 or something like that, rather than having to explain to them everything I've done, everything that needs to be done, what the customer expects at this point. All that is in the ticketing system. I just need to give them what tickets to watch, maybe something along those lines. How services proceed. Very good, Ella or Ebony. Thank you. All right. I like it. So say I am starting up my own IT department in the company. They just brought it to me. And I said, you know what? We don't need to spend any money on those fancy ticketing systems. We already have email. Why would we? What would happen if we used email as our ticketing system? D.
I think if you use email for your ticketing system, things will get confusing pretty fast. Things will get lost easily, probably, if you have a bunch of tickets going through emails. It'll just be very unorganized.
Okay. Organization would be a problem. Has anybody ever worked off of a group email for a department?
Yep.
What was that like, Greg?
Exactly what Dee said. Was very unorganized. Accountability is an issue, big time.
Yes.
You know, for the same things that Dee said earlier, in terms of communicating with your teammates and responsibility passing the baton, so to speak. I thought you were going to do that. No, I was going to, you know, so a lot of that happens when the ticket's assigned to you, it's yours, you know?
Yeah. In the same company in 2 different departments, they attempted this at 2 different points in time, regardless of the warnings that, you know, the employees brought to them, like what was going to happen. So yeah, there's no accountability. You know, even if we did the little flagging thing where like they had like 20 different color flags and you would put your color on it if that was one you were handling. But the problem is somebody look at me like, yeah, I ain't touching that. And they would move on, and then they wouldn't mark the email unread again so that somebody else would know to look at it. And then inevitably you have a person on the team that it bugs them if emails, like that little box on the side shows them that they have unread emails. This bothers them. So there are people out there. My TA from last cohort, it really bothered him. He was one of those people that he just hated to see unread emails in his little box thing. And so I would repeatedly take snapshots on my phone where it says I have like 900 unread emails and just send that to him just to bug him. But so there are people that this really bothers them. So what they'll do is they'll click on the folder, they'll right click on it, and they'll click mark all as read.
Wow. Okay.
Gets rid of that little number, and they think it only happens on their machine, but it marks every single one unread. So everybody in the department has no clue what's been handled, what hasn't been handled. And many of them will sit there and go, well, there's no unread emails in there, so I have no reason to go check. So I've had this instance happen quite a few times, and it was rampant that customers did not get their issues resolved because there was no follow-up. So there was no effective way to do this. It was absolutely chaotic and terrible experience for the customers, and usually something that only lasted at most a couple of weeks before the complaints got to be so onerous from the customers that they're like, you know what, we got to find a better system. So
the next bit you mentioned, or someone mentioned earlier, was that order priority. That's almost impossible in the email, because everybody is more important or urgent, or it's like, okay, which one comes first? While in the ticketing system, you can mark it tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, move it to the right engineer, blah blah blah, or a technician. Yeah,
it's the old saying: if everything is an emergency, none of it is.
Correct. That's exactly it. System down versus my mouse doesn't work right.
Yeah. I mean, there's some nuance to that, like where, like, if there will be, I have had people who had this question during an interview. If the sales team server goes down and they're unable to operate, and the CEO of the company calls and says, I can't get into my email, who do you respond to first?
I had a really good relationship with I had a really good relationship with my CEO, so I just called him and say, hey, I have a system down here. The team can't work. And
the best answer you can give on that is it depends on the CEO. Because there's some that are very, tyrannical, and we're like, I called you and you should have been down here the next minute, and then, terminate somebody. And there's others like, you know what, if our business can't operate, we don't make money, you need to take care of the business first, then come help me. So it depends. So, you have to be able to prioritize effectively, because like we said, if everything is an emergency, none of it is. What if one member of the team leaves and you get assigned some of the tasks that they were working on? How would you follow up with that in an email system? Make it very hard, wouldn't it? Because I imagine the personal flags that they set to alert would alert them, right? So,
or someone is terminated and you get the entire
no, this is like they left for the day. It doesn't say terminated. Okay. So they left and like, such and such is going on vacation, or such and such is, going on, on leave, or going to be gone for the next 2 days. You need to take care of their tasks. How would you know what needs to be followed up on? We had an instance like this happen where we had one person go on leave for like a week, and they'd scheduled this leave 6 months out. Nobody followed up. After the first 2 days of this person being gone, management finally realized nobody was doing their job because nobody got assigned to do their tasks. And the loss, like the business loss that was unrecoverable, was in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And the only reason they were alerted is because a manufacturing line got shut down because the supplies hadn't arrived. So hundreds of thousands of dollars because they did something like this. They weren't paying attention, and nobody was doing that job, and that employee left. So yes, and that is extremely bad for business, not just from the loss in money, but the loss in reputation with the customers you're dealing with. What level of trust do you think they're going to have after that point? They may trust the person that left, that went on vacation, but pretty bad. So, ticketing system we use to address a lot of these things. So, going forward, if you're setting up a ticketing system now, all issues will be located in a singular place, which is why when you email into tech support, when you call into tech support, any of that stuff, they're like, okay, here is your ticket number. So whenever you call any kind of customer service, that should be one of the first things you get from them. What is my ticket number? So that you know how to address it later, because the next time you call in, it is highly unlikely you're going to be speaking to the exact same person, especially if you're talking with, talking about multinational corporations. It is highly unlikely you're going to be speaking to the same person 2 different times. So you need to make sure you have a way of tracking your issue across multiple people. So it allows for built-in tracking of tickets and monitoring. So they will have built-in mechanisms to say, hey, these tickets are getting old. Are they resolved? Has the customer communicated with? I'm seeing no new notes in the last week. This is important. Abandoned tickets. Does the customer think that we just walked away from their problem? Anybody ever, call in something to IT and then like 3 weeks later they call back and say, hey, by the way, are you still having this problem? They send you a message. I've had this happen. Or it was 3 weeks to a month later. And then it was like, no, that got resolved a long time ago. I figured it out on my own. Oh, okay. And then they'll resolve the ticket and close it out. So it's not in their system anymore. That's the alerting system, letting them know, hey, you have unresolved tickets out there. Granted, it shouldn't wait 3 weeks to let them know this, but happens, I guess. Hopefully we won't be the ones letting that happen when we get in, to our new gigs. It allows for easy analysis of tickets. So you can put these into different buckets. Is it a in the moment issue? Is it a upgrade issue that we have a lot of time to work on? Is it a extremely hot issue that needs to get taken care of immediately? Do I have access to be able to take care of this? Like, I may know how to resolve it, but I am not authorized or have the authority in the system to be able to accomplish this task. So I need to hand it off to somebody who does. It also helps prioritize your workflow, because you need to kind of balance between quickly resolvable issues and emergency issues, because sometimes emergency issues can take a long time to fix, but you still have quick tickets that can be taken care of. So you may have 1 or 2 people working on emergencies, others taking care of the quick tickets to get them out, because all of this stuff needs to get resolved eventually. And you don't want something as simple as, like my A key is sticking on my keyboard, and every time I try to type an email midway through, it just goes, ah. When you could just walk over and hand them a new keyboard, takes you about 10, 15 minutes. So we have to balance this stuff. So it helps us prioritize our workflow for the most part. It also kind of fosters that collaboration and communication amongst you and your team. We don't want to just be in our little silo, just us working on our little problems and not looking outside of our box or working with any of our teammates, because how will we grow? Remember, each of us have different skills and abilities. We want to learn from each other, right? Because we want to become more valuable to our team, because we want to be moving up in our careers, not necessarily just sitting where we are, right? I mean, some of you may get into a position and just be like, you know what, I love it here, and this is about as far as I want to go. And that's great. Many of you will be like, you know what, what's my next step? What's my next level? Being siloed in your own little world, it's going to be hard to get to that next level without your collaborating with your teammates, especially vertically. If you're in tier 1, communications with your tier 2 teammates, your supervisors. What do I need to do to become a better teammate? Remember the shark video? What do I need to do to get to the next level? Actively have those conversations with your boss. What do you need to see out of me for me to tell you that I am ready for the next level, that I'm ready to be a supervisor, that I'm ready to go to tier 2? What skills do you need to see from me? Finally, it ensures the community as different IT professionals help the same clients. Continuity. So if I go on vacation, I am likely not going to have all my tickets resolved before I go on vacation. Unfortunately, it's not the way life works. But while I'm gone, other teammates can pick up, where I've left off. They can look at my notes. They can see everything I've done, everything I've tried, where I'm at in the troubleshooting process, and what my expectations are for the next steps. So these are our main goals with our ticketing systems. All right. Here's a list of some issues. So we'll go yes or no. Is this a common issue, do you think, or a not so common issue? All right. First one. My computer is too slow and downloads are taking too long. Does that sound like a common issue or a not so common issue?
Yes. Or when do you want it? You want a green check mark or?
Yeah, give us a green check mark. Yes, that's common. X if that's not common. All right, I'm getting some greens here.
Don't spend it all in one place.
Don't spend it all in one place. So yeah, you get this one quite a lot, especially if there is little regulation as to what you can do on your work computer when you're at work. One of the funny stories that Diego tells when he was working at UPS was during World Cup, the systems almost crashed in Brazil because everybody at UPS was trying to watch World Cup on their individual computers, and that much streaming coming in was essentially going to crash the system. So at a certain point, they're just like, you know what, we'll put it on in the break room and go watch it in the break room. We can't crash our systems, and but that was one of those situations where they didn't have those blocks in place where people couldn't watch streaming videos at the office. And then you have such a large event like World Cup come up and everybody's trying to watch it, trying to keep up with it, and it can bring down your systems. In our office, it was everybody trying to listen to Spotify at the same time. And it was like, okay, well, if you're going to listen to it, you listen to it on your phone, not hooked up to the corporate Wi-Fi because we only have so much bandwidth. So this is quite often a regular one. My Wi-Fi keeps disconnecting. Is that a common one or not a common one? Still seeing a lot of greens. Okay.
Mr. Kelly?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do it in my workspace, so where I have to do? I couldn't see that window for me.
Under reactions, you should be able to click on the green check yes or no, the red X no. So if you look under your reactions where you put like the little smiley faces or raise your hand or all that stuff, it should be in there.
I couldn't see that. Oh, okay.
Got it?
Yes, sir. In the chat box here. I didn't.
Okay, so it's in your name on the chat box. All mine's under in the same spot, so I see a little bit different picture than you guys do.
So you want me to do it in the chat box?
No. Well, it's in the it's like if you click on participants and then you click on your name, it'll bring a drop-down box where you can click like speed up, slow down, green check yes, red X no.
Sorry, I didn't get it. I'm sorry.
So under participants, just look up your name.
Oh, for her, it would be under the same reaction that raises her hand in the raise hand section.
So down at
Can
the
I
bottom.
get the link again? Link again, sir.
Are you talking about for the Zoom Nearpod? Okay. Yep, dropping it.
Oh, okay. I thought she was talking about the check mark.
That's what I thought as well. There we go. So Wi-Fi disconnecting. Anybody ever, have their own little hotspot and they stayed at a hotel, and even though they had their own little hotspot, they kept getting disconnected from their own hotspot? Anybody ever have that happen in a hotel?
Yeah.
It was your
It even
own
happens.
personal hotspot, and for some reason you kept getting disconnected.
Yes, when I take my laptop to my job and get connected on my hotspot, I'll get these interruptions. And
Well, I'm
then I
speaking.
have to.
I'm speaking. Well, at your job, it could be the multitude of Wi-Fi. I'm speaking a lot at hotels,
Oh,
specifically
Yeah,
hotels.
that happened before.
Yeah, I've had that happen before. Did you know there was a
Yeah.
lawsuit that the hotels were doing what is called a deauthorization attack, where they would sit there and blast out deauthorizations that would force people to get kicked off of Wi-Fi's,
No, I did not. know
cause you to
that.
log out so that you would call down and pay for the internet in the room. So that was their way to kind of prevent people from bringing their own Wi-Fi to the hotel and costing them money. So I think Hilton and one other major chain both had to pay out in big lawsuits for doing that.
That sounds horrible.
wow.
So I think it was Hilton. I'll have to double check, but there was two hotel chains, major hotel chains that got busted doing that.
Hilton doesn't surprise me.
So another one. My mouse is not working. Is this a common one? Yep. So I would say, possibly, depending. What are you trying to get, Gowdy? Are you trying to get into the Nearpod, or are you trying to?
Yes, sir. Nearpod, sir. Yes, I'm the Nearpod, sir. So, but I didn't.
This link is not working for you when we put in chat?
No, it's working, but I don't know where to go and check mark it.
Oh, you do it on your
the
Zoom.
check marking is on your Zoom reactions.
Oh,
So if you look at the gallery of all the people, you see some have green checks, some have red X's.
How can we do that, sir? Oh, okay.
Under
In the
reaction.
reaction.
Yep, there you go.
Okay, sorry, sir. Thank you.
No problem. All right, so let's clear off our reactions real quick. So mouse is unplugged. Could be the battery's dead on it. Could be you have the touchpad mouse turned off. There's a number of them. Could be that you have a mean coworker and you have a laser mouse and they put clear tape over that and then it doesn't register anymore. I've never done that to a coworker, I promise. This year. So mouse not working, that's a big one. That one does come up actually quite a lot. I can't log in. Is this a common one? It's like if you could put like 20 green checks across your screen. This is probably one of the most common ones you can get. To the point, I think I mentioned this, where like, my password's not working. But they used to have dedicated people in IT teams that all they did all day was reset passwords. That sounds really exciting, doesn't it? All day, that's all you do. It's just reset passwords. It's the same thing all day. It's like an assembly line. And then somebody in the IT field, I guess probably was an intern, they got frustrated that was their assigned job when they first got there. They just wrote the code that automated the whole thing. They were just like, yep, it's automated now. We don't have to have a dedicated person doing just this all day long. Seems like it's easy money, but it's also one of those mind-numbing activities where you just get so bored out of your mind doing the exact same thing over and over again. So, all right. The resolution on my screen is not clear. Is this a common one? Seeing more no's pop up for this one. So yeah, typically people aren't messing with the resolution on their screen, so it is very seldom you will get this issue. Now, there have been cases where the color scheme on my monitor is not correct, because I believe Diego talked about this one as well, where he had some coworkers and they would hot seat desks where you would have people of different shifts working at the exact same desk. And one person was partially colorblind, so they couldn't see certain spectrums of color. So they would change the color of the monitor to fit what they're able to more comfortably read. And then the other person would come in and it would just, everything would look weird and out of whack, and it would bother them. And the IT department, instead of checking the color settings, was quite literally just replacing the monitors almost daily, because and then they started to think it was the system causing this issue, until somebody thought, hey, maybe we should have a conversation with the night shift person and see what's going on. They're like, oh yeah, I'm partially colorblind, so I have a hard time reading certain colors, so I change it so I can see it. So, but typically, people aren't going to be changing the resolution on their screens. All right, it's clear reactions. What about my printer is not printing? Is this a common one? Seen a lot of green.
One of the most common ones.
Printer issues, probably one of the most common ones. And after we do our printer section and you start answering questions about printers, I promise you, you will become a member of the paperless movement. You're going to sit there and go, you know what? I agree. We should go paperless and get the printers out of the office. So once we go through that, I promise you, you'll want to be a part of that movement.
Then you have scanner issues, because now you're trying to move them away from paper. Then
Yep.
you got to do that whole scan and like shared folders, all that good stuff. Yeah.
It's always something. All right, the sound on my computer is not working. Is that a common one? Seen a lot of green. I would say this was a pretty common one, especially in the days now where we're doing video conferencing and stuff like that. Before, when you weren't doing any of that stuff, you never really noticed if the sound worked or not. Like my work computer, I don't think I could have probably had it on mute for about 6 months to a year and not even realized it, because I was never using it for any sound. I like the next one. I accidentally deleted some files that I need and I forgot to back up my data. I'm going to say this one is terrifyingly common.
Terrifying. Until I find out about Shuttercat.
You know, how many people come in and like, and it's that last piece. I forgot to back up my data. That's the worst part of it. And when we talk about drives, we'll talk about this a little bit, but it's one of those things where people tend not to think about backups ever until they have a major catastrophic event where they lose a whole bunch of data.
That happened to me. My phone deleted like emails from like the last probably like 5-6 years one day.
Mm-hmm.
I lost so much important information.
Yeah, you lose important contacts. Could be documents, could be, you know, music, photos. Like in my hard drive at home, I have archived photos from my grandparents and stuff that they had just on little slides, and we digitized all that stuff and archived it. So I have old photos that are near impossible to replace, you know, stored in an archive. If I lose that stuff, how do I can't reclaim it. So in order to prevent something like that, I back that data up. But again, most people do not think about it until they're in a situation where they have lost a bunch of critical data.
Yeah, Mr. K, I'm one of them. I've never done any backup. I would definitely like to learn how to do it.
Okay. There's a couple ways we can do it. We will talk about it. All right. Next one. My computer keeps shutting down and restarting. Is this a common one? I don't know. I guess it depends on the types of websites you go to. Your computer could be overheating. It's also a symptom of a virus, things like that. And then lastly, The keys on my keyboard are sticking. Is that a common one? For those of you saying no, have you ever ate at your desk?
I don't have a desk.
It was shocking to me how many people would eat at their desks. And then you would like, if you ever had to slide over and use their computer for anything, you would notice how nasty the keyboard was.
Turn it over and knock it out. Oh my God, it's gross.
Oh, I know. It's awful. And then all that stuff gets underneath there, and then eventually the keyboard keys are sticking and they don't come up, especially if like they have beverages at their desk. I mean, like, yeah, I have one, but like my keyboard is here, my beverage is like way over here. You know, like it's not even close to my keyboard. Like there's not even a chance that that's going to be knocked over on there. And if you have like, you know, sweet tea or soda, or you put sugar in your coffee and that stuff, it gets under there and it messes it up really, really horribly. So keyboard sticking, yeah, that happens a lot.
Yeah, well, I don't eat at my, at the table where my computer is. My Raspberry Pi keyboard, the letter O is stuck.
Okay.
I don't eat.
So you may not either. Does anybody else in your household eat near there?
I'm sorry.
It could be any number. It could be any number of reasons. Sometimes they do just stick. You know, it's not always.
I don't know if my son does, but I've never seen him do it.
So, you know, sometimes they actually do just stick. It does happen, but usually the most common cause is dust and debris and food getting underneath the keys and causing them to kind of not work properly. So, logging a ticket. So we're putting tickets into the ticketing system. There are key pieces of information we're going to need for every ticket or type of ticketing system. Ticket number. So this gives us our overall identification number of the ticket. How is it traced? How does the customer identify which issue they're speaking of? Because there could be multiple tickets from one customer. So we would need to be able to identify the specific item that they are talking about. Similar to like bill of lading numbers or PO numbers, purchase order numbers, something like that. A lot of that is to identify a specific order. Same thing with a ticket number. Date and time. We want to be able to indicate when did this ticket start, and then every time we touch that ticket thereafter, there should be a time and date stamp. This occurred on this date. This note was entered on this date. On this date, this happened. On this date, we resolved the issue. And on this date, the customer celebrated. You know, I mean, we have to have that as we go through so we know the evolution of the ticket. You know, if we see a ticket that hasn't been touched in over a week, maybe we need to take a look at it and see what can be done to resolve it. If it's a part on order, not much we can do, but we can do an update that checked on the status of this order, advise the customer still waiting on the part to come in. So there's still some follow-up stuff we can do, at least to let them know that, one, we didn't forget about them, and two, the ticket doesn't get abandoned in the system. Client information. Who called it in? What was their name? You know, if they're at your company, what is their position in the company? You know, the manager of X department called in. How do we get in touch with them if we have an update? Do they prefer to be contacted via phone, email, instant message, carrier pigeon? How do they want to be contacted? Creator. It's going to start, you know, it's going to put in there who was the person who entered this ticket into the system. So in this case, it would be us, right? When we enter a ticket in the system, it's going to be us. Thereby, if there's information missing or lacking, it's going to come back to us. Or if you are looking at a ticket that somebody else created and there's pieces of information missing, like who called it in, you now know who to contact and be like, hey, who is it that called this ticket in, so that I can reach out and, you know, get this finished. And then Lastly, the issue type. So there likely will be like a drop-down menu. There's several different buckets you could put it in as the types of issues. And they do limit this. So you'll be able to select the one that's best fits the scenario you're dealing with. And this will also help in the prioritizing of the ticket. All right. Ticket source. How did you become aware of the issue? Did somebody email it in? Did they call? Did they walk into your office? How did we find out about this? Summary and description. Give us a brief breakdown as to the details of the problem, how they experienced it, and what you know about it as of this point. Priority level. Is this urgent? Is it low priority? Best effort? They may have a priority list. They may do a tier list. It could be just low, medium, high. It could be tier 1 through tier 4. It could be, best effort to urgent. So it's going to depend on the organization you're in, what type of tier system they will use. And then the status of the ticket. Is it new? Is it just open? Did we resolve it? And once it's resolved, did we confirm and close that ticket? And then we have our working log. Where are we at in this process? Do we have a solid idea as to what may be causing it? Do we believe that the issue that is occurring is just a symptom of a larger problem? Where are we at in this troubleshooting process? If we believe X is the issue, then we are currently in the process of executing solution Y. And then each time you speak to the customer, you always make an entry in the log. Talk to DW today. I told him, sorry, your computer's broke. My condolences. Have a nice day. April 11th, 2022. So we have these working logs and notes that we put in every single day. Questions so far? All right. So, got a quick little quiz. Let me pause it. So, here's a short list of some of the more popular ticketing systems that are out there. Zendesk, SolarWinds, Teamweaver, Salesforce has become pretty common lately. I believe that is one that Generation uses as well. I used it at my previous company. Freshdesk and Teamwork Desk. Have any of you guys out there worked on any of these systems or multiple and have a preference? No?
But a very common one though that I don't see here that I've seen with a lot of MSPs in this space is ConnectWise. ConnectWise is very popular.
Okay, ConnectWise. Well, remember this is about 5 years old.
Oh, okay.
So ConnectWise, okay. So that's one that's kind of
Teamweaver.
Teamweaver. Okay.
And I've also used Jira.
What was that also?
Jira ticketing system. Jira.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So
and Salesforce.
Salesforce, yeah. Salesforce is the one that I've seen most commonly, like in my career path that I've been on. So
the cool thing about some of the Salesforce stuff, though, if it's a big enough company, you don't even see Salesforce as the branding because you build on top of Salesforce backbone.
Yeah.
So yeah, it could be anything, under any name on top of it, but it's Salesforce as the back.
True.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like the old SAP systems.
Pretty much, yeah. SQL.
All right, got a quick little video here.
As someone in charge of customer service, you have to keep track of all the emails, the endless calls, and the agents, who could be anywhere, from the hospital to Singapore. And now you have a new headache: social media. Now even the tiniest complaint can turn into a tornado of angry customers. Wow! More problems! Desperate, you search for software that can help you, but it's all expensive and confusing. Isn't there any end to your customer support blues? Luckily, there is. And it's called Freshdesk, the next generation help desk. Customer queries from phones, emails, websites, and even social networking sites get automatically converted into tickets. Instantly solve customer problems with a super simple and smart interface that your agents can reach from around the globe. Freshdesk can automatically assign tickets to different support teams based on intelligent rules. What's more, use a single account to manage support for multiple brands and products. Now you can keep track of everything, except your agents. Thankfully,
you're muted.
You didn't get my message through my hand gestures. I was trying to be as expressive as I could. So I know that was just marketing material, but it should give you kind of an idea as to what the ticketing systems look like, kind of how they work, all that fun stuff. Obviously, they're giving their best face in their marketing material, you know, where it works perfectly every time. That's not always the case, but for the most part, it's just kind of giving you a quick exposure to a couple of them. Yes, Danielle.
So this is kind of like chat support. Like if I like message Apple on chat support, would it pop up for me on my end on that website like that, and we chat back and forth there?
Yes, although some of them are testing AI systems that will automatically respond to you, and you can sometimes get some really comical responses on that. Or sometimes if you're dealing with somebody like from another culture or another country that's not used to the slang and stuff like that, you can always get some pretty entertaining responses. I was doing a text chat with somebody from Comcast, my favorite company, and they were saying, and this was like in June or April of last year or something like that. I was having problems with my internet, so somewhere around that area. And they said, okay, well, we'll set up and have a tech come out to you tomorrow to come look at your problem and see what's going on. I said, okay, 10-4, which is just kind of it's a natural reaction for me working in transportation so long, all that fun stuff. So I respond with 10-4, and they're like, they immediately respond with, okay, we've moved your appointment to October 4th. No joke, that's what happened. So I immediately had to get back on them like, no, I need someone here now, not in October. So, you know, sometimes you can get some interesting responses on that, but some of them do. Most of them, actually, there's a person on their end and they're responding to you. But those, some of the larger companies like your Googles and your Apples and stuff like that are testing AI, where they're trying to see if they can use that as like their front lines. I think there's like two, I forget the name of the one test where it was like you can have an interaction with a computer and not know that it's a computer. I can't remember, there's a specific name for that test. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but the other one is what they call the uncanny valley, which is where you can get really close to it being human, but it's not quite right. So it's really awkward for your brain and you have a hard time accepting it. So I'll see if I can remember the name of the test. Turing test. Thank you, Oscar. And that's like a benchmark that they would use for like AI to see if you could interact with a machine and not realize that it's a machine.
Am I the only one scared of AI?
No, a lot of people are. And it's one of those things where but understand that AI is a tool like any other. It is not the tool that is the problem, it's how it's applied. You know, like most tools in the world, you know, the tool can be really, really bad or really, really good, depending on the person who's using it, how they're using it. There are some really, really negative ways AI is being applied, but there also can be some extremely good things that can come of it. So it's just a matter of trying to maximize good, minimize bad, and then, you know, trust but verify. I'm fond of saying that. All right, any other questions we have about ticketing systems? Just like I said, this was just kind of an introduction to it, and we will take some closer looks at it, and also data entry and looking at note taking and stuff like that later.